welcome back to the Ego Eraser. I know it's always like I forget what this is called, isn't it? My name is Jordan from Without Bounds, and welcome back. This is Module 1. Watch, your ego, ego. Welcome back. So thank you so much for watching the introduction. Thank you so much for showing up here today, ready to go hammer fisting in on this monster and start erasing the story of your mind that distracts you, what are we doing here? Wrong class. That takes you on a ride of nonsense, of judgments, of labels and comments. It's, remember from the introduction, my eternal suffering at the gym of comparing myself to other guys, to smelling the smells that I don't like, to seeing the chicks that make me, ugh. It's always this experience of getting lost in thought, of taking the ride of this thing that's really a little monster. It's a little monster that we want to cage, We just want to get it in the box because we don't want the monster to grow. Because when we look around, when we look at our lives, we can see the monsters growing, the monsters lurking, those bad habits. It might be, if you got our subconscious upgrade audios, we talk about, not taking care of your teeth and the monster that can be. So in your own life where you're getting lost in thought, you might think that getting lost in thought is a healthy exercise sometimes, but most of the time it's really causing you deep pain. Deep pain because if you're listening to this little beast, this little monster, you're getting a story that likely puts you down, likely separates you unnecessarily from others, whether that's because you hate others or because you think you're better than them. You have a monster in your head who thinks it's a victim of every circumstance that goes wrong in your life. And this thing is consistently showing up to sabotage you. It's a piece of your identity that is seeking to make you separate, but also seeking to perpetuate itself. Perpetuate what? Itself. The ego, as Wayne Dyer used to put it, is called edging God out. God being the piece of your whole existence that you are, realizing that you are a part of this thing that all is, this all is one thing, and that by letting the ego creep in, you're letting that all is one thing be pushed out and be not seen. Because if you're letting your ego control you, you're not seeing things as they are. As they what? As they are. So it's time to stop. It's time. If you watch me, you watch my courses, I love to say it's time because the time is now and there is no other choice but now to start erasing the pieces of you that keep you separate from the greater whole of your life, to the greater whole of the contribution that you can make, whether it's taking better care of your parents, taking care of your children, taking care of yourself, whether that's being a better worker or business owner, whether that's being a better service provider. You want to stop the thing that's preventing you from taking better care of the life that you have been given. Now, I don't know if you think your life is a gift or not, but I want you to know that if you start treating yourself as someone worth taking care of and treating your mind as a gym, a place to move things to get stronger, you will stop letting this little brat of a thing control you. And it's a piece of us all. It's a piece of us all that we must choose each day to face. Now, in the rest of this course, we give you even more strategies to face it. But in this moment, the key here is to start watching your ego, to create and develop an inner sight, an insight, an inner sight that lets you go within, lets you experience life as it is, and start to shed a spotlight on what it is that this ego is doing inside of you. Because it shows up in certain ways. It shows up in just a rhythm and something that is noticeable. But the first thing to do, and when I love talking about this particular step because every time I do, I always remember this one example. It's, you go to Alcoholics Anonymous, whatever anonymous crew you're a part of, and I'm not an alcoholic, but for the sake of this exercise, humor me. It's like you show up and you have to admit that there's a problem. It's, hello, my name is Jordan. Hi, Jordan. And I'm an alcoholic. So are we. You're an ego eraser. So am I. But when you do this, when you're admitting it, when you're putting down on pen and, taking your pen and putting it down on paper, when you're vocalizing it and declaring it to other people, what you are doing is shedding a spotlight on something that needs to be noticed, that needs to be dealt with, that needs to be likely erased. And we call that here at Without Bounds creating awareness. Now, if you take super seriously understanding the nature of your being, understanding how your mind thinks, and getting at the thoughts that are actually creating the habits and results in your life, the identity that you have, then I invite you to check out the Subconscious Upgrade course, the real next level to what it is that you can do with this knowledge. Right now in this moment, I'm going to give you the tools and strategies. The one special tool that I use and that I know Jim uses and that we teach our clients to use to start watching your ego today. But if you want to take it to that next level, I totally invite you to check out the Subconscious Upgrade, where we do teach you how to create awareness. But for you, I'm going to let you off into the world on your own on this one. You create awareness by shedding a spotlight on something inside of you that is holding you back from the greatness that is inside of you, holding you back from the greater connection to all beings, to the people in your life, even to the trees in your life, my friend, to the cats and the dogs and the birds and the bees, preventing you from seeing things as they are, getting lost in thought and getting lost in that story. Remember, the ego is this story that makes you more special, makes you the victim, makes you different, and makes everyone else a thing to be seen as separate from you, when really, my friend, all is one. I'll say it again and again. So you create awareness by first observing the pattern. Now, what do I mean by that? What do you mean, Jordan, when you say observe the pattern? So there are rhythms to your life that ebb and flow. And you are responsible now that you're here, now that you're in this course and with me, paying attention. Hopefully I'm not interrupting a thought there, baby. You must begin observing the pattern. Why do you want to observe the pattern? So you can erase the little bastard and cage the beast. Because if we can understand how the beast shows up in our lives, how the beast shows up when you show up to work and you start talking to your coworkers about how terrible life is, or listening to them tell you how terrible life is, or you wake up in the morning and you grab your phone and the next thing you know you're distracted. Oops, there I bring up that word again. If you start getting sucked into this thing that's seeking to sabotage you and waste your time, waste your energy, then it's time to observe the pattern. It is time to observe what it is that's causing that tyrannical order in your life, or that unrelenting chaos in your life. And get a hold of it by understanding yourself, by building what we call here at Without Bounds currency with yourself. Whether that's understanding your personality, understanding the thoughts and beliefs that you have, or the habits that you have. Get into what your patterns are. But more specifically, get into the beliefs driving them, because that is the story that your mind is attached to. Because what the ego is seeking to do is make connections to things and put things in boxes and label things and label experiences, so as to, again, reinforce you being more special than you need to be, thinking that maybe you're less than you really are, and that you are separate from all that is, from other people. And that's a dangerous thing. Why is that dangerous? Why is it dangerous to see yourself as not connected to the whole of life? Well, first of all, people who are not connected to the whole of life, feeling meaning and contribution, feeling safe, feeling loved, feeling these basic human needs. If you feel separated from that, not significant, less significant, then you're letting this win. And it's what causes so much depression, like 16.5 million people with depression, 40 million with anxiety. That's what this does. And it's doing that on a global scale for so many people who aren't using their minds, getting their minds online. And here at Without Bounds, the reason we're called Without Bounds is because I want you to be part of a community that helps you dissolve the boundaries between you and the great other, you and I. So by observing the pattern of your own thoughts, by knowing what the ego is trying to do, it's trying to make your needs into lack. It's trying to make you think you don't have, and that you must want more and more, but that it's okay to want more, but to want more to what end? Greed or love? Hate or love? Fear or love? We have to decide. You must decide. You must decide if you are going to each day take out your pencil and erase the brat in your mind. Take a hold by watching the pattern, watching how it shows up. So the mind is like a river. We're gonna get in our kayaks. Let's get in the boats, guys. All right, put our life preservers on because it can get a little crazy up in here. Let's go. We're gonna start rowing, and we start thinking of something, and what are we thinking of? I'm thinking of mustaches. You're thinking of mustaches? You are now. So call mustaches to mind, and all of a sudden, we're coming to a place in the river. We can go straight, or we can go, your right, my left, or your left, my right, and then we decide, we're gonna go right. And from mustaches, all of a sudden we're thinking, who is that guy in high school who had a mustache? Who is that guy? And we're thinking, who is this guy who had a mustache? And the next thing we know, we have the choice to go left or straight, and we choose to go left. And the next thing we know, it's Luigi, that guy was in high school. He had the mustache. Luigi, oh, that reminds me. We now go straight instead of going left. And oh my goodness, that reminds me of pizza, of pepperoni pizza. And then we can go left, we can go right, and we go right still, and we think, pepperoni, how's pepperoni made? And before you know it, I know this was completely ridiculous and nonsensical, but the point, follow me here, is that we start with one thing. The ego convinces you to grab a hold of an idea that likely isn't even worth your mental energy. But because you have allowed it to grow and fester in your life over time, not being aware of the pattern, you've let this highway be paved in your mind. And if you know anything about pavement, it's a little loud, noisy, and crazy to turn it over and put down new highway. It's a process. But you can begin that process of laying down new highway by knowing where the roads are in the damn mind, where this river will take you. So in one sense, we've started with, of all things, mustaches, and we've ended with, how does pepperoni get made? We've ended up 5 miles from where we even wanted to be, but we're also really a slave. We've let the river take us. We had little control over where we could go, but if we decide, in those moments where it's going to be mustaches and it's going to be the guy from high school, you can go straight. You can stay focused on something. And we'll get more into that in the next module on how to activate thoughts to create a mental cage for this mother effa. But right now, just by watching your ego, by sitting down with yourself, by closing your eyes and getting into the moment and really feeling and trying to see things as they are, and practice that, you can develop what we practice and what we believe here at Without Bounds will help you develop this inner sight, this insight. And that is focus and concentration. Because what's the danger of being unfocused? What's the danger of not being able to concentrate? You know, we created the sister course, the Distraction Eliminator, for this very reason. Because if you're not practicing focus, then what are you doing? You're practicing distraction. And if you are laying down the highways of the mind to consistently be distracted, you wake up, first thing you do, you're on the pooper and checking your emails, your texts, Facebook, Instagram, and by the time it's 8 o'clock, you've already done 20 minutes of web surfing, you've responded to 3 text messages, and you're already distracted. Because how you start your day is how the day will go. So if you are starting it distracted, where do you think your day will end up? In a distracted frenzy. So by building up focus and concentration in your life, you can get the work that you came here to get done. Because the promise is this: as you learn to watch the pattern and understand how it's showing up in your life as this story, as this sabotaging, victimizing story, then you can begin to focus on the things that matter to you most, on focusing and concentrating on seeing things as they are, instead of letting the labeling, crazy, judgmental monkey mind, the river that we are so, we're whitewater rafting and we're like crazy out of control here. If you can get in that boat and grab those oars and start using active energy to paddle yourself towards a new direction, and that by doing that, you are building up focus and concentration. And in the Distraction Eliminator, we throw in some skills there to help you do that. And also in this particular module, I've added some bonuses to help you get through this particular step that I'm saying.